Near the shores of old Lake Erie stands our alma mater true. Fredonia State we proudly honor, with its colors white and blue.
Hello, and welcome to our latest edition of Reflections of Fredonia. My name is Jack Croxton, and I am a retired faculty member from SUNY Fredonia. I taught here for about 40 years in the psychology department, and I'm enjoying my retirement now doing this podcast where we interview alumni from Fredonia, giving them an opportunity to talk about their careers and also to reflect back on their experiences while they were an undergraduate at the college. We are recording today from the SUNY Fredonia student-run radio station right here on campus.
Hi, everybody. My name is Chloe Kowalik. I initially graduated from Fredonia in May 2024, and I am now here again as a graduate student pursuing my Master's of Science in Clinical Mental Health Counseling.
For today's podcast, we have a very special guest. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself by telling us your name and when you graduated from Fredonia.
Good morning. My name is Dr. Casey Jakubowski. I graduated in 1995 from SUNY Fredonia, and I was a social studies education history major.
So did you know right off when you came here that you wanted to do something in the field of education?
I knew right off the bat I wanted to be a social studies teacher and a history major at Fredonia. I wanted to do that because I love history and I love trying to teach others about history. I didn't quite know that I wanted to go to Fredonia until somebody, a student teacher who then became a teacher at Hamburg High School, where I went to school, recommended I check out Fredonia. And I fell in love with the campus. I fell in love with the opportunities. And I enjoyed the bright, sunny day that we got to do the tour of.
Oh, well, that was good timing.
It was, especially because that winter we had a very large lake effect snowstorm.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, we know about that.
Yes, we do.
So while you were here, any particular professor kind of stand out in your mind that had a real impact on you?
Oh, absolutely. So Tom Morrissey from the history department, Jackie Swansinger from the history department, from the education department, Dr. Mahady and Dr. Millett. They were all, in my humble opinion, true scholars, true teachers, and more importantly, they became mentors of mine. I grew very close with the history and with the education department folks. Dr. James Herkin, who was a political scientist, taught one of our honors seminars, and Dr. Adams, who was another professor who also went into the ranks of administration, also was just amazing. I learned so much, and the intellectual discussions with Dr. Steinberg's honors department was just, it was what you want when you want to go to a school. It was intellectual, engaging, a community orientation, and just absolutely one of the best part of my life.
Well, that brings back a few memories for me. I played softball with Ted Steinberg for many years. We were called McIntarfer's Apothecary, and then later on we were the Fredonia Hardware Screwballs. And I'm on the board of directors of the Fredonia Opera House with Jim Hurtgen, and he's always been a dear friend of mine. And on Thursday mornings, I meet every week with Larry Mahady, where we get together with a small group and chat about nothing of any great importance, but we enjoy each other's company.
Yeah. I want to add one more because now she's affiliated with Buffalo State. But when I first met her, Dr. Lori Bonanno was political science at Fredonia. And to me, and I've actually co-authored works with Lori. She, I don't even know how it didn't come to mind immediately, but Dr. Bonanno has been there over my career and was a mentor and a phenomenal scholar and a phenomenal advocate for her students.
Hmm. Were you a part of any events or student clubs while you were here?
I was, I became the parliamentarian for student government for a little bit. I was part of the Alpha Phi Omega co-ed service organization for a while. I was part of the medieval reenactors. And the one great part that I enjoyed was always the chicken wing night, where we would go to the student union and we would have chicken wings together as a group after student government. Um, I also remember before Cranston became the Marché, which Chloe can talk about a little bit, but it was a dining hall, and it was a traditional dining hall. And I lived in Igo when I lived on campus, and so we had to walk all the way down to Cranston for breakfast. And there was good food there, but boy, there were some mornings where it was like I need 2 cups of coffee.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Do you have any favorite memories or experiences from your time as a student?
I do. I think one of my favorite experiences was the moment that I was asked to present for the history department on how to, uh, from a student perspective, getting the most out of your degree through social studies education and history combined. My second favorite memory was a couple of years ago. I was invited back to do a book signing of one of the um, now 7 books I've written at Fredonia for homecoming. And I think the last best experience I had was learning about teaching in rural schools, because that then became the career and the basis for my PhD from SUNY Albany and my master's from Binghamton, as well as almost all of my books have something to do with teaching in rural America.
Well, you certainly have an extensive resume. So I guess what I'd like you to do now is talk briefly about how you continued on with your education and kind of leading to where you are now. And you have to do all of that in 4 or 5 minutes at most.
Right. So no, not a CV, but an executive summary.
Yes,
Yes,
there you go.
exactly.
So I I've founded a consulting firm, CTJ Solutions, where I work with people who want to move from okay to outstanding. And I focus on team dynamics, personal growth, and development. I also have spent a number of years both teaching in higher education leadership development, history, geography, education, and I've also spent a few years as both a classroom teacher and a district administrator. And I've done a lot of work on school improvement, including 7 years as a state education department liaison. And all of that work just keeps reflecting back to what I learned at Fredonia, which is the program was rare and reflective educator. You have to learn how to be reflective. You have to be ready to think about not just the problem, but the causes and how you personally will take responsibility to make solutions. And also to give every single student the chance to do their best. And I always reflect upon the fact that if I wanted one of my students to attend Fredonia, what would I have to do to get them to that point? Fredonia is, in my humble opinion, the crown jewel of the SUNY system.
Ah, Have they ever talked to you about going out and being the spokesperson for SUNY Fredonia?
I wish, and I've done a few things before, but one of I've offered to come back and talk to the honors folks about what you can do and things like that, but I just think schedules haven't worked out.
Yeah.
But
Right.
I believe you don't want a school like Fredonia to get smaller. You want it to get bigger, and you also want it to do what it does best. And what it does best, in my opinion, is create an environment where you can intellectually study so many different things. Like I was in an honor seminar as a kid or as a student where we talked about recombinant gene therapy with the department chair of the biology department. I was in another seminar where we were talking about, and this was with Dr. Mac Nelson. We were talking about the comedy of Shakespeare. And it's just, to me, a moment where you get people together in a small group and just let their brains explode positively.
Well, now you brought up another name. Mac Nelson also played softball on our softball team in the summertime. He was a great guy.
Yeah, yeah. And the campus is beautiful. That's the other thing. Like, you go to some of the other schools and you walk on campus and you're like, oh, so that's where they put the leftover concrete from the highway project. But Fredonia, between Mason Hall and Thompson and Fenton, you have some gorgeous architecture on that campus.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Yeah. So, what have been some of your favorite aspects of your career? And then on the flip side, not to put you on the spot, but are there any challenges that you think you face?
Yeah, I love that question, Chloe. Thank you. Some of the most positive moments of my career have been being involved and helping students make a difference in their lives, where I learned how to be an educator as well as a teacher and a mentor when I was at Fredonia. I love the fact that I've got to explore rural schools, rural school policy, teaching in rural schools. Um, one of my experiences as a new teacher became the co-written book, Crush It from the Start, 50 Tips for New Teachers, rural education history, all these areas that I got to explore. It's just been just mind-boggling how my career has gone the way it has. One of the challenges is I've always wanted to go back to Western New York, and I haven't really been able to. The cards just haven't shook out that way. I grew up in Hamburg, New York, right down the way from the football stadium.
Oh, yeah.
And my career has led me to different parts of New York State and to the lower eastern shore of Maryland for a year, but haven't gotten much western than the Rochester area since I started. And I'd love to go back. I have family still there. My dad's there, my brother, my sister, my niece, and my nephew. There's just something about Western New York. I really miss a food market chain. I don't know if I'm allowed to say it, but it begins with a W. I really miss it. I miss it tremendously.
Oh, yeah, I
Yeah.
bet.
Well, tell us just a little bit about the books that you've written over the years.
Oh, absolutely. So my first book came out, was called Thinking About Teaching. What I did was I reflected on how to make teaching history, social studies, geography more interesting for students who were in rural areas. Um, it was my first foray into writing. I then wrote a bit of a autobiography called The Cog in the Machine, where I talked about the influence of New York State and its education system, and some of the places around New York. My third book, which I think is most important that people give a chance to read nowadays, is called Getting to the Hearts of Teaching. And what I did was I took this fantasy of STEM and I reframed it to make the humanities and arts central. And I gave explicit ways that we're missing as a society cool things because we're so focused on science, technology, engineering, math, but we've lost the humanities, we've lost the social sciences, we've lost the arts. Like I mentioned, I wrote Crush It from the Start, 50 tips for new teachers with 3 other educators who believed we got to do something. We're finding too many teachers are leaving the profession way too early in their careers. And then I wrote 2 academic books, Rural Education History and Settling Conflict in New York, are both about state policy towards rural schools and how rural school consolidation actually really wrecks communities. Um, and the way that it's done, it leaves a lasting anger and anxiety in the communities. My final book is called Treasures from Aunt Terry's Attic. It is a young adult children's literature book that's based on my family story, where 2 young characters touch an object and they're transported back into time when the object's created. They have to save that magic from a group of magic hunters. And it's based on my family, it's based on my Aunt Terry, and it's based on the artifacts she saved from our ancestors' immigration from Poland to the United States.
Wow.
Wow, you have certainly written on a lot of diverse topics. They all sound really interesting. Have you,
Thank you.
what sort of I guess I'm going off script a little bit here, but
It's okay.
what kind of has inspired you to be a writer like this? Do you have some magic formula that you use to crank out these ideas, or?
Well, it's not a magic formula, but it starts with my inspiration, which is I had so unique situations teaching in rural America. And I was there with the standards movement, No Child Left Behind. And what I noticed was the students were living in areas and communities that had deep historical roots, and they didn't know about it. And I thought, we got to do a better job of making this stuff relevant. So I taught where the Susquehanna, the Unadilla River come together in a confluence between Oneonta and Binghamton. So one of the chapters in my book, Getting to the Hearts of Teaching, I wrote how a local school teacher in all different departments could take their kids to their local river and research science, history, math, English about the river. That's one chapter. I was also inspired because I thought I had this knowledge about rural schools when they were going through these merger studies that wasn't in the actual professional or public realms. And I really liked the idea of talking about a subaltern or a unrecognized person's story and how their story needs to be told because it's crucial that these underrepresented stories get out. And my last inspiration was, as my relatives were getting older, I wanted to tell the story of her family immigration for my niece and my nephew. And I also wanted to share it with other folks who have family heirlooms or they want to know more about their families. And so I thought that the Treasures from Aunt Terry's was going to be a really cool opportunity. It all goes back to the fact that when I write, I throw aside one of the biggest barriers to writing, which is making it perfect the first time. I just write. I write whatever comes to mind. I am not Jack Kerouac in any way, shape, or form, but a lot of the work is very stream of consciousness at the first level, and then I'll go back and reorganize it. Um, I also think Fredonia taught me a lot about writing. It taught me a lot about writing for people, both within education and academics, but also public communications. And those stories really need to be told.
Well, thank you for sharing your thoughts.
Yeah. And not that you haven't shared enough, because you have obviously had quite the extensive career, but just to make sure we cover all the bases, are there any other aspects of your career that you'd like to talk about?
I think the consulting work that I'm doing now, where I'm trying to help people move with idea generation, self improvement, that's something where I believe it's a need. And the reason why I believe it's a need is a lot of folks go and they're like, I'm going to get work. And then they get work and then they realize they're not fulfilled, they're not satisfied, or they have imposter syndrome where they don't think they're worth any better. And one point I learned during COVID-19, the 19 crisis, and a lot of the difficulties that happened with losing a position because of budget cuts and, places laying off friends of mine while they were making record profits.
Oh,
I try to help people find their best way, their best life, and their best opportunity to go forward, because we've got a lot of talent that's not being utilized. And we have a lot of people who are very talented who aren't recognized for that. And I think as a society, we have to do better.
I really like that.
Yeah, definitely. Um,
Well, thank you.
yes, so I think you have definitely have made the most of your undergraduate career here at Fredonia. What advice would you offer to current Fredonia students?
Explore, live in the moment. Um, Chloe, help me out. What's the phrase? Touch grass?
Yes, that's it.
Yeah, be grounded. It's so easy to get lost, especially when there's now so many online class options. But live in the moment, explore the community, explore the campus, go see revolutionary works of art in Rockefeller, go watch a performance in Rockefeller, go to the library and wander up to the fourth floor of the annex, browse. Ask a librarian what the coolest book in the collection is.
Mhm.
Live in the moment, because it's a fleeting moment. And you want to be able to look back when you're my age, which is in my 40s, and think, wow, I got to do some cool stuff while I was there, as opposed to saying, wow, I wish I would have done more, because it's an awesome experience. And if you have a moment, study abroad. I never got to do that. And now it costs a lot of money to do that.
Mhm. That's right. Well, you talk
So
about looking back on your 40s. I'm in my 70s, so I get to do a lot more looking back.
you're a spring chick.
Oh. Well, that just about does it for our interview today. Casey, is there anything else you'd like to add?
I just want to profoundly thank Chloe and Dr. Croxton for having me on this. Chloe and I met when I was at homecoming doing a book signing. And I said, hi, I would love to be part of this podcast. And she's like, okay. And, you know, the younger generation is especially like, who is this person? What do they want? But thank you for being so open and communicating it. I really appreciate that. And I also just want to thank all of the folks who are continuing to do the work, whether it's the faculty in front of the students, the folks who are staffers behind the scenes. Shout out to a friend of mine, Chris Taverna, who's one of the IT people. Um, the joy and the privilege of meeting amazing people who will go to the ends of the earth to make sure it's a good place to be, really is just amazing, especially because they've been at other places where they're not as student centered. I'm so glad Fredonia is student centered.
Well, thank you so much for appearing on our podcast today. I really enjoyed chatting with you, and your sincerity and thoughtfulness really came through in the interview.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So that wraps up our podcast for today. I am Dr. Jack Croxton.
And I'm Chloe Kowalik, and we'll see you in the next podcast.
Sing its glory and its praise. Maria.